Hello and welcome to the Briefing Room. I'm Bill Froehlich from WTCM Radio. It's our weekly roundup of some of the news making headlines across northern Michigan. And this week it's another sports edition of the Briefing Room. To my right, James Cook from the Traverse City Record Eagle. James, thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
And Mike Misico from the Kalkaska Leader and the ESPN radio show Northern Michigan Press Box. Good to have you as well, Mike. Wanted to, well, we're at the point of midsummer, so we'll talk about the Midsummer Classic here in just a minute, but I want to talk about hockey. That was last week here in Traverse City, and I know, James, you were out there rubbing elbows with some of the big names of the Red Wings. Tell us about development camp here at Center Ice in Traverse City.
Well, probably the biggest thing was that they had Darren Helm there this year. It's not usually that you get an NHL veteran player at the development camp, but the Wings brought him to kind of see how his rehab was going from his back injury from last year, which they never really got diagnosed exactly what it was, but he missed every game but one. He was able to skate every day and didn't seem to have any big setbacks or anything, so that was pretty good news coming out of that.
What do you take away from, I guess, the excitement of Center Ice last week? Did you see a lot of folks out there soaking up some hockey in July?
Yeah, when I pulled up the first couple of days, I was just amazed at how many cars were in the parking lot. You know, just for the development camp. You expect that for the training camp, but I mean at the development camp, it was pretty packed. For the scrimmage game that they had on Friday, you know, it was pretty much almost standing room only. I mean, there was a few seats here and there, but they were probably at 80 to 90% capacity for that game, which is, you know, pretty good.
Pretty good. Do you, maybe we attribute that to the lack of hockey last year? It was long overdue for Center Ice to have some hockey out there.
Yeah, well, last year was the only thing, development camp was the only thing that Traverse City got in. You know, there's no prospects tournament, no Red Wings, no North Stars and everything. So aside from high school hockey, that was really the only hockey around.
Now, did I see that Chris Chelios was there as well? And then him and was it Brendan Shanahan made the Hockey Hall of Fame too?
Yes. Yep. The day before training camp started, they announced the Hall of Fame, and Chelios and Shanahan were on there. Chelios is out there skating with the team, helping train the defensemen, giving them pointers and everything like that. So is Tomas Holmstrom,
nice.
Helping all the Grand Rapids Griffins players and everything. So
where does hockey rank for you, both of you guys, in terms of favorite sports, and obviously what does it mean just as not only a job but as a fan to have some hockey right here at home?
Oh, it's great having the Red Wings here. I mean, as far as covering hockey, the high school scene around here is really good. You know, really competitive teams and everything, and the crowds are pretty good for high school hockey. You go other places and there's not a whole lot of people there and everything like that. The quality of the hockey may be really good too, but you go to like a Central or West game and there's, you know, quite a few people there. So it's, you know, I mean, it's Hockey Town North for a reason. Yeah.
How about you, Mike?
Well, you're absolutely right. We're a branch of Hockey Town here. You know, it's great to have hockey back in Traverse City with this development camp. And to me, and I love the game of hockey. These guys are tough as nails. You know, I put them, me personally, I put hockey up there with the NFL. And these guys are tough, they're gritty, they play with broken bones. I love it. It's a great sport. But, you know, this development camp, they changed it up this year, I believe, and they went from a two ring format, basically a rink, to playing on one rink, which I think was a good idea. And to give each player more time with coaching and things of that nature. You know, also learning from Shanahan, Chelios, these young kids in the Red Wings developmental system got it great. They're learning from some great talent. And, you know, I think when you look at the Red Wings, this is a very important thing. And we have a great farm system, you know, with these kids down in Grand Rapids and things. I think our Red Wings are going to look the same pretty much the same team as we saw out on the ice last year, but I think we're going to start relying more heavily now the next couple of years on these guys that we saw up here in Traverse City. I think we're going to see more of them into the fold. We've already seen that with a couple of these guys last year. So this is a very important thing that we have up here. It's great that it's held in Traverse City. And we have one of the best minor systems in the NHL, in my opinion.
Let's shift gears and talk about baseball. Of course, we had the All-Star game this week. Takeaways from that, Mike. We'll start with you. What do you make of? Let's start with the All-Star game, then we'll switch over to Tiger specifically.
I liked it. I watched it this year. A lot of times I tune in just for the home run derby, but this time 6 Tigers on the All-Star team were voted in, and I like that Commissioner Selig changed this up a while back for these teams playing for something, playing for home field advantage.
Yeah.
A lot of times in these All-Star games, guys aren't playing for anything. They're not trying. The All-Star game is one of the few. In hockey, you have a high-scoring, no-defense All-Star game. NFL, no defense. Same thing in the NBA. These guys aren't playing. I like that they're playing for something, and it was a competitive game. The American League came out 3-0. I thought it was exciting. The Tigers were contributors, so that was cool. You got to see Mariano Rivera, the great closer, perhaps the best closer of all time, go out. Jim Leyland put him in the 8th inning, not sure if there was going to be a 9th inning, so they brought him in. He closed out the side, in order. It was a great game. I'm very happy the American League won this year. They snapped, I think, a 3-year losing streak, and the National League just dominated this game overall. The past in recent memory. So it was great to see the American League get a win. I thought it was a competitive game. It was nice. I like low-scoring pitcher duels. In a 3-0 American League win, I'll take it.
Nice. Mm-hmm. James, you a regular viewer of the All-Star game?
Yeah. I think it was a classy move by Leyland to give the 8th inning to Mariano Rivera to ensure that he gets in the game, because there was a chance, if you put somebody else in the 8th, the National League scores some runs, they're the home team, they don't bat in the 9th, right, and Rivera doesn't get in. So it is, a good move by Leyland to put him in the 8th, ensure that he gets in and everything in his final season. And Leyland was kind of managing it like a World Series game, because he's got a vested interest in it, thinking that he can get in the playoffs and make a run this year. And the American League pitching just dominated, including Max Scherzer. Pitching a shutout.
He's probably wishing he had some of that pitching on the Tigers.
Well,
team
he even said he said it was a great feeling bringing in Rivera, to close even. Mm-hmm. So he's not used to that. So he said he was talking about Joe Girardi, some of his former coaches. I can't imagine what they felt like, bringing in a reliable closer every single night. So, I can feel for him on that one.
And there was even a Frontier League, former Frontier League player in the All-Star game this year.
Yeah, I heard that.
The pitcher from the Blue Jays that got voted in as the final vote from the fans. He used to play in the Frontier League, I think, for the Florence Freedom.
Nice. What do you think has changed? You mentioned the change to make this the home field advantage. Winner gets home field advantage for the World Series. What do you think has changed about this All-Star game in the past few years since that change? My casual observation, or maybe I should just say it's a guess, is that when I was growing up, it was everybody played an inning. Everybody played 2 innings, because if you got selected to the All-Star team, they wanted to play you. But now I'm guessing you don't see that anywhere near as much. Just because you're on the All-Star team doesn't mean you're actually going to take the field.
That's true. The biggest thing I think it means is no ties.
Right.
You got to have a winner. That one year that they had the tie ball game was just a debacle.
Right. Again, it comes back down to home field advantage in the World Series. Yeah, that's my take on it. And look, and you have a manager like Leyland, whose team realistically should be or will be playing for something, in October or in the postseason, and that home field advantage is important. Look, just using Detroit as an example, what could have happened the last couple trips to the World Series had we had home field advantage even last year? So it's an important thing, and from a managerial standpoint, these guys understand that and they want to win. But the players out there too, they're voted in by the fans, and I see it in baseball more than any other sport. for some reason, they are trying, and whether it is that incentive, that home field advantage or not, they're out there playing pretty hard.
You mentioned the Frontier League, James. I know you've been out at some of the Beach Bums games this year, halfway through the Frontier League season, of course, as well. Tell me your take on this year's Beach Bum squad.
Oh, I mean, they're looking pretty good. I mean, they're in first place. They've got Florence nipping at their heels in the East Division, but they're doing pretty good. Especially they're dealing with some injuries. You got Jose Vargas was out for a week or two. Scott Woodward, their leadoff hitter, has been out for most of the season. He just came back, and Andrew Cohn, who was their starting shortstop, has been out for over a month. And the guy that replaced him at shortstop made the All-Star team. So they're doing pretty good. When Cohn came back, maybe a little bit too early or something, played 2 games and got hurt again. So maybe he'll come back after the All-Star break. Maybe he'll be a little bit longer. But once he gets back in the lineup, then Greg Langben's got some lineup options to go with, because with him and Woodward coming back, the guys that came in and played in the outfield, because they had to move Wren from outfield into short. The guys that came in the outfield played pretty decently. So they've got a little bit of depth there. Maybe even trading pieces if they feel they need to, but I don't know that they will.
And that doesn't seem to have been Greg Langben's MO over the past couple of years. Once he's set, he seems to kind of be set. And I don't know how much you're following the Bums, Mike, but the other thing that struck me is, as you said, we've got the team to full health now right after the All-Star break. Theoretically, everybody's ready to go. But you've also got a team that's been in first place. So how much do you mess with the apple cart?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great point. And I think, Langben's in a great position because his guys are playing well, reserves. And realistically, you don't need to rush anyone back into this lineup because they are playing well. And he's in a good position because he has guys across the board that he knows now he can plug in, and they're going to fill a spot and produce for him. Look, Langben's been doing a great job there. Director of Baseball Operations Jason Warfel has done a great job assembling pieces to this puzzle, and it's been up and down. They haven't had I don't think they've had a tight grasp on first place, but the fact remains that they are there. And they're competitive this year, and they're going to probably make that postseason push, and they have a deep bench at their disposal, and they're going to be capable of a nice run.
And I don't remember the record this time last season, but it seems to me like last season everybody had a hunch this team was just amazing. This season we know we're in first place, and we're pretty darn good. It doesn't seem to be quite the same level of confidence that there was last year. But the big obstacle is still the West Division, which just seems to have dominated in the Frontier League period. It's tough to overcome.
And last year,
get to the playoffs.
Last year's and this year's teams are two, kind of very different teams, especially offensively. Last year's team was just boom or bust. They're going to hit a ton of home runs, or they're not going to score a whole lot of runs. This year, they still have a couple of the big bats in Vargas and Birch, but they're trying to get guys on base for them so they can hit 3-run homers instead of solo homers and stuff. And last year, their lineup was just pretty much loaded almost top to bottom with home run hitters. And this year, it's a little bit more small ball, which is still pretty interesting. I mean, Werfel Park is a park where you can play a gap baseball. I mean, it's got that pretty big outfield. And then with the depth, I mean, you could see more this year down the stretch with Langben playing matchups, lefty, righty, and stuff like that. Last year, you could pretty much come in, walk into the ballpark, and the lineup was the exact same every day.
Right.
You knew who was playing where, and you knew what spot in the order they were playing, because they had hardly any injuries. Remarkably few injuries last year.
We and this was my fault. We diverged away from Major League Baseball. I meant to talk about the Tigers as well. Mike, give me your take on what's up ahead for Detroit as we head into the second half of the baseball season.
Well, I think the first half for the Tigers, if I was to give them a letter grade, B-, C+, I don't love what they've done the first half of the season. I think they underachieved for this roster that we have, 6 All-Stars. Look, we're 10 games under over 500 currently, and we're I think we're a game and a half up on Cleveland in the Central Division. The second half, actually, when you break it down and look at the schedule, they have an easy schedule, and I believe 19 or so games are against sub 500 teams. They have a majority of these games are going to be at home, so they're on cruise control. The Vegas has them with great odds to win the Central, decent odds to win the pennant, and then good odds to get to the World Series. So there's expectations there, but when I personally look at their schedule, I see what should be a cakewalk through this division, and beyond. And it just all depends on if we can produce or not. Look, we should, with this, and I keep coming back to the schedule, we should be able to build a nice cushion there to win this division. It depends on our hitting in late games. We struggled in that the first half of the season. Clutch hitting when we needed it late in games. The bullpen, of course, that's always been an issue. If Verlander can return to Verlander, now the other night he looked almost Verlander-esque again, so that was cool to see that. He claims he fixed his mechanical issues or whatever was wrong. I don't know. As long as he starts becoming Verlander again. Max Scherzer obviously, out of his mind, and we've got some other pitchers that are performing very well. So I look ahead the second half of the season for the Tigers, and I think it's going to be a good one. And again, this home field advantage that we won in the All-Star game could very well come into play for this team. But I'm gonna tell you right now, they should have a better second half than they did first half this season.
Mm-hmm.
James, what's your take on it?
Yeah, pretty similar. I mean, the only parts that I'm really worried about is potentially the closer situation. Although Benoit's been pretty solid there, they'll get Dotel back sometime fairly soon. So there's another solid veteran arm in the bullpen to solidify that. Perhaps my biggest worry is, what do you do if Johnny Peralta gets suspended in the Biogenesis investigation? They've got no plan B at shortstop. I mean, if you're looking at playing Danny Worth at shortstop the rest of the season, that's a huge hole in your lineup. So that would probably potentially right now be my biggest worry, outside of injury or anything. I mean, you've got 1 through 5 producing in the starting rotation. I mean, even Porcello's been pretty good, number 5. So
I saw Bud Selig on Letterman the other night talking about the investigation, and I guess I'm not as well versed in it this year as maybe I was paying attention the past couple of years. But where do we stand on that in terms of do we think something's going to come down this month, before the playoff season?
It's looking like it. Although I've heard that if it happens, the union will appeal everything, and there's a decent chance that Peralta, who's probably one of the players that's been linked to this and would be in it, may not miss any time this year, because it would be,
for next season.
Yeah, basically the union would appeal everything and everything would be delayed. But I'd still like to see a nice plan B at shortstop.
Look, I think they're going to drop the hammer on these guys, and more power to you. Steroids is an issue in baseball. We know is happening. These guys are doing it. And Major League Baseball has to take a stand. Hey, either we're going to allow this, or we're gonna hit you hard in this. And they're talking right now, guys like A-Rod and Braun, that somehow got out of it last year, cheated his way through that. Did a great job of smooth talking his way out, pointing the finger that his samples were
loopholed it.
Right, he found the loophole. Look, they're throwing around Pete Rose type stuff right now. Lifetime bans. A-Rod could be gone. See you later, buddy. That's okay with me. Braun very well could be gone too. And yes, we're going to go through the red tape with the players' union. They're going to fight it. But Selig is saying enough is enough, and more power to him. I'm all behind that. If you cheat and you get caught, and you're potentially gone from this game, go for it. Do it. Kick them out of here. And maybe then we can start deterring these guys. And let's have everybody on an even playing field. But as far as this latest issue, I think we're going to see very soon, and they were even talking about it last week, that, and these guys have been meeting with Major League Baseball, too, and talking with them about the situation. So,
or more accurately, not talking.
Maybe not talking, yeah.
Hey, Rod went there and supposedly did the same thing.
We could very well see lifetime bans for some of these guys.
Wow. All right, we've only got a few minutes left, so we got to get rapid fire here, but let's talk about Pistons. Lots of stuff going on in the offseason. Take 60 seconds each. Mike, what do you got?
I'm excited for, and this is the first time I've said this in years, I'm excited for the NBA season, for what Detroit's doing. Joe Dumars trying to save his rear there in Detroit, maybe. I don't know. I like his draft selections. I can't believe it. It's growing on me. I like the move to bring Josh Smith in from Atlanta. When you talk about needing somebody, we needed a decent named free agent. Dumars went out and got him. Maybe we could have done a little better. I don't know. Who wants to come to play in Detroit anyways? So I like Josh Smith. He's going to get you 15 points a game. I love the addition of Rasheed Wallace, assistant coach on the bench. Hey, the guy's a loose cannon, but maybe he can command some discipline there that we've lacked in Detroit over the last couple of years. I love the fact that Dumars brought Billups back. Maybe it's because he felt bad that he traded away Billups in 2008, and the team went into the tank after he got rid of Billups. We were cursed. Bring Billups back. Maybe he'll undo that curse. But I love Billups has played 42 games or so combined the last couple seasons. I don't know if Billups is healthy, he can still contribute. He shot over 60% last year when he did play. Regardless, they're saying he can be a mentor to some of these younger players, Brandon Knight, Rodney Stuckey. I'm excited to this point what they have done in Detroit. I think we're not going to be a laughingstock next year. I think we're going to be competitive.
James, 60 seconds for you.
Yeah, I think Chauncey Billups is going to be have a bigger effect perhaps on Brandon Knight. I kind of have the suspicion that that's what they brought him in, is to make Brandon Knight a point guard, because Brandon Knight kind of is in the Chauncey Billups mode of point guard right now, where a lot of teams early on, the Pistons were his third team, with two teams had given up on him being able to play point guard in the NBA, came to the Pistons, turned it around. I think they're hoping he can do the same thing and mentor Knight into that, because Knight does not look like an NBA point guard his first 2 years in the NBA. He's too offensive minded, tries to awkwardly split the double teams a lot, and it just doesn't look right out there. But I think maybe Billups can bring him around. They also added the Italian small forward shooter Luigi Datome, who supposedly can stroke it with anybody, shoot the three-pointer, hit free throws, and even play a little bit of defense, which is unusual sometimes for those young Italian players.
So there's a spark there.
Possibly, and then their second-round picks, they took a gamble on Mitchell. He's, a risk-reward guy, another front-court guy. If he pans out, maybe that makes Greg Monroe a tradable piece later on, and then Peyton Siva's, a guy I could see being a career backup point guard, which is not bad for a guy picked almost at the end of the draft, to have a guy that can stick in the NBA and play a role.
Keep our eyes on it. 30 seconds now. We're years away now from preseason football. Hard to believe it's NFL time already.
Yes, I love it. I'm pumped up. This is my time of year. And look, you want to talk football, Detroit Lions. Someone recently came out and said out of all the losing teams last year, Detroit Lions have the best chance of making the playoffs this coming season. I'm going to have to go out on a limb here and say I agree. Matthew Stafford recently got paid with that extension. 6th highest paid quarterback in the NFL. He's ours. He's locked up. I like that. He's our franchise guy. A lot of teams would love to have him. I think Detroit is a playoff team next year, perhaps 9 wins or so. The addition of Reggie Bush is going to open things up. Football is coming. I'm pumped up.
Mm-hmm.
James.
Yeah, I think with the addition of Reggie Bush, you're going to see the Lions' offense similar to what it was the first half of the season 2 years ago when they made the playoffs. When you had Javid Best actually healthy, the offense was completely different because they had to respect Best wasn't the best runner, but they had to respect his pass catching out of the backfield, and he was always a home run threat. So you had to account for him. Teams haven't had to do that the last season and a half after Best got hurt. Nobody was worried about the Lions' running game, so everybody just double and triple teamed Calvin Johnson. There goes your offense.
Yeah.
So now you get the addition of Reggie Bush, and you basically get Calvin Johnson back, who still had perhaps the best year ever for a wide receiver, even being double and triple teamed constantly. So I mean that offense could be phenomenal. They added a huge offensive guard in the draft to that, which I like. I always like building from the inside out. And I think the defense should be better. They totally retooled the defensive line. The NFL adjusted to what they were doing on defense to blend their defensive line. Too. And they totally retooled the ends to take away those short passes, the short, quick drops, by bringing in all tall defensive linemen with long arms to take away those short, like one-step drop passes and everything. And that's going to allow Sue and Fairley to be more of a factor this season.
Lots to look forward to, guys. As always, thanks for coming in, Mike Misico and James Cook. Appreciate you joining us on the Briefing Room this week. I'm Bill Froehlich, and check out the blog, briefingroom.org. We'll see you again next time on the Briefing Room.